I just wanted to welcome everybody in. There's a lot of factors going on that I've been watching in the market. Obviously, our gold, silver, and mining stocks are having a great morning, and I can't really take my eye off it, which is great to see. Cryptocurrency, risk assets are starting to pick up a little bit here, which adds a little bit of a factor into this. Where the heck did I put the controller? This TV is way too loud. Hold on one sec. I think you don't really see it as much. Now, I'm sure it works out over time, but I don't hear anybody say that. What you hear is that you have the small businesses trapped between the scylla of the tariffs and the charybdis of not being able to hire. So I do think something's going to have to be done about them because I don't see the tariffs out. Okay, sorry about that. So I'm watching a lot of factors here in the markets. Watching risk assets doing good, watching no risk do good, and it's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting what I'm seeing. I have such a weird feeling when it comes to gold, silver, and mining stocks right now. Like, I'm so happy how much they're moving up. But I got this overwhelming, I have like a fear for some reason that they're setting up retail right now through the mining and the precious metal sector, kind of taking the focus off of what could be coming with the expansion and risk. And it's an odd feeling. It's a very odd feeling. So I'm like fixated to see, can this continue with gold and silver like today in a big way? Because it certainly looks like to me like this is moving really nicely right now. And I don't know, I'd love to hear everybody's expectations. Oil is the one I'm watching, and that's the interesting thing too. The oil exploration stocks. Murphy's came down 5.56% all of a sudden, which is, it was up like 4, 5, 6% today, and then it just reversed really hard. How long have I been on YouTube? Wouldn't let me start the video until now. I just started. Can they crash the silver prices? I mean, through the paper markets, I suppose, to an extent, but I don't know, man. I don't know. It seems to me like it's on a runaway train right now. It seems like it's trying to run away, but, you know, I got this euphoric feeling this morning. Once you get that euphoric feeling, it makes you kind of think twice, and you're like, well, why am I starting to get euphoria? And, you know, if you've traded a lot of markets, once you start feeling euphoria, all of a sudden you start to get big reversals, and it's weird. I don't know how to explain it. So I have a very happy, a very surreal feeling because of how far these have gone now. But something is off to me. You know, something feels a little off. Normally when miners, gold, and silver run that hard, you know, the money's pulled out of crypto. And you can see right now, crypto is definitely moving. XRP back tested 212 like a champ. The next area is 218 to 224, which I would expect to try to push over 220. But you got to get through these barriers. Man, it's a little cold. I was outside, shivering a little bit. There, turn the heater on over here. Yeah, silver is definitely going to $93 at some point. There's zero question. That's where that cup and handle pushes it to. I'm just saying in the interim, maybe it just goes right now. You know, maybe it just runs up there right now. Maybe that's what's going to happen. And like gold, it popped back into the pattern formation very nicely this morning. So it got back within the pattern. Instead of having to make this next drop, it got back within the consolidation. And it's forming a nice little rounding here. massively overbought here in the 4 hourly, but you know, sometimes it just plays out. Now, the question is some of this oil stuff telling us something? Like what's with West Texas going up in price right now? What's exactly going on? Why would the exploration companies cut? Is this a grab a liquidity one last time? Is this going to be the fallout phase? Is this telling us where like commodities are going for a minute? Or is this just coincidence? Because there's something deeper at play. Look at some of these moves. This is nice. These are nice moves. These are happy moves. But anyhow, that's just what I'm looking at across the board. Obviously, there's no way to not be happy right now. If you've been in the miners, if you have precious metals, it's a surreal morning. And it sometimes it can take your breath away a little bit is all. Man, it's not often you can say you get part of something in that fashion. But with that being said, Tom, I emailed you about Epic Chain adding 3.6 million tokens suddenly, and the price still went up and continues. I did see your message, Sean. I was trying to get more information on it. I was looking into it, definitely. I don't know how it's going to affect it. It's not a crazy amount I mean, it's 10% of its total supply. But, I mean, it's still, there's not very many tokens there, so. But what a start here this morning, too. I know I'm a little overshadowed by the miners, but XDC's up 4.6% today, starting to make that round up. We've got VeChain stuck a little bit, but they're all making this little round. XRP's up 3.65%. And our next area, I mean, we can look at that chart, but I'd prefer to look here. This is what I had drawn out during this movement. When we were doing one of the lives a couple of days ago, we drew this out. And honestly, for my scenario, it's playing out perfect. This is the exact scenario that we were hoping for. Now, we still have to understand we have the CME gap below. That was there from, you know, Friday at $1.99, 0.7. But remember, if we make this run up, the good news is we'll fill that gap on the way back down if we have to do this. So, you know, this is nothing but good right now. Nothing but good. I mean, you couldn't have started a Monday morning better than this. I'm cautiously optimistic, very cautiously optimistic with all these markets. PLG up 11.3%. Right after the big drop, now it's recovering. Very nice recovery to start the week. Very nice recovery. 20 about to cross the 200. See if we can get out of this zone. Once it gets past $2.84, it's got some room. Big room. Big room, as a matter of fact. B2 Gold. I mean, it looks like it's getting ready to finish off. It's got the double bottom. Rounding. Looks like it's about to shoot up here. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see it round here. Quick question. B2 Gold, do you think it's going to go up or down? But based on the pattern you're seeing right there, do you think it can fill it out to $5.29 approximately? Then we'll go back to crypto. Daily showing a nice rounding bottom. Yes, it does define. It sure does. It sure does. I guess not many people would be interested in the miners. I should know that. You don't think so? Do you think it's going to reverse on us and fall down here? Pullback retest. For B2 gold? This is what... Up. I just... My yard now, are you saying pullback on B2 gold? And Christopher, are you saying I don't think so on B2 gold? Sorry, no. Speak English. Maybe. Mixed bunch. I like it. I like it. Okay, so silver is cooking. Okay, so you guys are one saying pullback. I feel like the Fed will try and push price down in any way possible. I know. That's the one caveat right now, because there's a lot of banks on the hook right now, so it makes you wonder how much they're going to let these prices run. I think that's the odd feeling in the room, but that could also be the deceptive tactic till we kind of don't pay attention to certain things. But that's why we got to watch the price today. You know, we got to watch the price today. But yeah, if I wasn't in a miner right now and I was looking to just buy right now, it would be a little difficult because you've got such expansive price movement. Like, where are you gonna go? Which spot would you jump into? Like, the only two that I can see right now that fit the bill would be like B2 gold if it does break out, and Dolly Varden because it's been stuck in this consolidation for so long. Other than that, you've got a lot of major movements here already. Like, First Majestic is up 10.3% today. And it seemingly could be breaking out of this consolidation itself. But yeah, it's a wild movements here. There's some wild movement. It's super wild. The banks don't want it over $75 an ounce, but it's pushing 77 now. So, you know, that's why I asked the question when I started, can this continue, or is this the euphoric push? I'm losing some of my audience, though, because I'm talking about gold and silver and mining stocks when obviously crypto is doing a good job. So let's get back on point. Let's get back on track. Good morning. 10:48 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Monday, January 5th, 2025, or 26. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. So as we can see with cryptocurrency, on the uptruck right now, Bitcoin's up 2.4% into that 93,740 liquidity zone. We've got Bitcoin really trying hard here to try to push up out of this old FVG box, which we're over the top of right now, and simultaneously working our way out of this pattern consolidation where the technical target can get us up to that rising wedge breakdown around 107K. It's much easier to see the rising wedge breakdown that we had right here, and then we can back test it or get back within it. It's a great question. My yard now, it's a great question to ask. Does gold and silver or crypto have to give way? In the current environment, how do you bet against the precious metal? But with what what's going on with the banking sector, you know, I could certainly see, because it feels too convenient to me right now that right when they let all of like the mass retail put their retirement into all these expandable ways with gold and silver, there's just been a lot of expansion just like crypto. I feel like something's off here. I hope it continues to be off and gold and silver keeps running up like this, because yeah, I do. Me personally, it helps more going up, believe me. Well, on, with your gold and silver and stuff, it helps. But when you go to the store and, our dollar's being devalued. But what has to give way? Well, if we're going through a 5 wave here, technically in the short term, with what's going on with the margin and stuff, and the capital requirement expansion and things like that, I felt like silver, if they dropped it to $66, I was telling the Find this yesterday. I didn't know how high it would go today. I told him to watch the $76 or $77 level to see how we reacted when we got there, because I figured it was coming. But I felt like we could get an expansive move initially with miners to start the week, and gold and silver, especially on Monday. But by the time we started playing through Monday morning, what would this look like? Because I feel like there's the objective here now. Last January, everybody was focused on crypto. Nobody was focused on gold, silver, and the mining stocks. Now all of a sudden, every single person I talk to it seems like more people in general are talking about silver now and the miners and things like that. But they don't care about crypto again, when it's ironic, because now silver and the miners, from a monthly standpoint, historically, I've never seen them this high in the monthly. And it's scary. It's really scary when you start looking at it. Like, we've made a lot of money in some of this stuff. And it's like, you start looking at it and, I've never seen them like this in the monthly for this long, ever. And I've traded the miners for a long time. So I know in its history, you'll get these euphoric feelings, and then all of a sudden it goes, and even if it stays within the candle, it's down and it's back testing these gaps. And, so I don't know what to think. My gut's telling me, hey, you dumb mother, you've got all the, and my heart's saying, hey, it's the miners and it's gold and silver. I would never, here's the point. Here's how gold and silver bullion I buy, I've never sold a single ounce. Never. It's for my heritage. It goes to my next generation. That's not for me. It's as if I don't even have it. It's in multiple places where only the people who need to know will know. And that's for the next generation. But the miners is so you can make money now. And the thing you got to understand about miners is, as volatile they go up, is as volatile as they come down. And my own perspective was, when crypto went up here, we'd get this. It feels like, to me, like I said, it's flipped. From last January, I was all about the miners and gold and silver. And then what did I say this January at the end of December? After this last drop, it's time to buy. We're looking for wave 4 expansion. And then when we get up to wave 5, if we get the rejection at 260 area, or wherever it seems to be rejecting into that area, that would be the time. If we need to do some kind of shakeout, sell out, rebuy when it comes back down after the 5th wave down for the big expanse and up. But you don't know. We could invalidate a 5th wave down. So, yeah, but money finds yield. And I feel like it's interesting, because there's a lot more retail now that never talked about silver, that would rather pull. I've heard a lot of people say they're pulling their money out of crypto and just putting it into silver. And it's happened a lot. So that leads me to believe that if we stay in euphoria here for much longer with these miners, that all of a sudden, and it doesn't seem like it right now, I get it, but all of a sudden we're going to see silver at $66, and it's still going to be a really high price. But a lot of retail right now is putting call options in, because I think it's a done deal that this pullback's over, because it went to 83. This is kind of that range at 77 that was making me nervous last night. And it shouldn't, because there's still a lot of room over the top. Like, that's the thing. This shouldn't make me nervous at all, because it's breaking out of this pattern. I just look at it from the perspective of, how can they spend money? And if it was me, I would have drove it up like this, and then I would have a harsh back test, even if I wasn't coming to 66, or maybe it's 70, but I would do something to where retail's feeling good right now. And all of a sudden, because we have the stuff in Venezuela and all this stuff that makes it seem like we should just go unabated, It would almost be like a perfect opportunity. The miners are way up. So you know retail's buying miners. They love red. It would be a perfect opportunity here for them to gut us. I hope they don't. I hope they just let it keep playing ball. I hope they're being so overwhelmed by the mass demand of all of this, they can't drive it back down. But as we've seen from 83, they've got tricks up their sleeve. And they're just, the central banks aren't just going to give up now. So, like, my focus is that oil play right now. We did great on miners, and we're going to continue to do great as they move up. Cautiously optimistic on the move up from here because of how much we've already moved. But we're going to look for some early cues that something could be off this morning. You know, we're looking for early cues. So right now we're just back testing. Nothing major. We're just back testing the initial move. This would be expected because you had a volatile start out of the gate. So retail starts buying and then it comes back and back tests the move from this morning. It happens pretty routinely in the miners. Nothing major. Same thing that a few, like First Majestic up 12 or 13%. It just slowly came down a little bit. Not much, but it may come back down and back test the move from the early morning. We don't know. It happens a lot in the miners. Don't be surprised. And don't be deflected. Don't be deflated if you're in them. If that's just standard operating procedure if it happens. Not saying it would. B2 gold, again, seems like the play, if it's going to make the move up here, seems like it's lagging big time. It's only at $4 and something cents. But again, one could say that's an ascending formation, you know, within this pattern. So, I mean, it has some obligations to break for sure. But if it breaks up, it's gonna make a decent move here. But yeah, oil is definitely one that should be on everybody's mind right now. It really should. It really should. This was one earlier today too that kind of shook down, but now it's starting to shake back up. So maybe this was an early sign. Hey, it already backtested and it's just going to continue to blow. We don't know. But we're about to find out, though, in a very good way. And everything. Which I don't know why gold.com is on there because it's not Barrett. They just switched their name and Barrett went back to B. So we've been watching the wrong chart. Which is annoying. Because my price wasn't reflecting on that screen what it was showing on my portfolio. I'm like, that's not what it's saying. But Barrett Mining split from their gold side of it. So this is actually the other side of the company. And it's pretty stupid if you ask me how they did that. It's confusing. Actually, I'll keep this off for now because it is confusing. I'll explain it later when we're not in a rally so people don't get confused on what to buy and what not to buy. Anyhow, how would you invest in gold? By buying like Exxon and Mobil shit like? Or how would I invest in oil? Yeah, I would be buying, like I said, I've been watching Murphy's and I've been buying or watching NOG, Northern Oil and Gas, waiting for the pullback. And right now it's telling you that the oil price going up, there's a little deception there because the actual ones exploring it are getting crushed right now, at least on the onset. I don't know if that's going to continue or not, but at least on the onset, it's not having a good time right now, let's just say. Silver over 77 now. Look at that. Let's see how it reacts here now. This is big boy area from 77 to 83 now. Okay. But that was a question I got to ask. So XRP right now sitting at $2.16.49. Not bad. Not bad. It's played out exactly like we were not anticipating, because we can't say that that's our, but what we were projecting in the scenario where it could be wave 4 expansion was to initially break up, you know, try to back test this and then push out. We back tested it in the smaller time frames now, at least. You know, we've had one maybe not in the 4 hour. Well, I think we had one in the 4 hourly actually. Yeah, we did. A couple candles. So now if we can push out our next movement here, it's not going to drive us all the way up to 261, but you got that 218 to 224, which we're coming up behind. And then over the top, we want to see something like this to finish off the fifth or the fourth wave in expansion here, which is actually just like a big fake out. Because unless we can push through and get above that 261 area and ultimately keep pushing over to that 286, which is the top of what I think is a broadening wedge here until it shows otherwise. So that's how I look at that, to be honest with you. Looking at that in a very, very constructive way. I think XRP looks fine. I think crypto looks fine right now. I think it's doing what it needs to do. I like that XDC's out ahead again. Well, not out ahead, but that it reversed its losses, and now it's looking at 5.5 cents. I like how this morning for the precious metals, folks, how if you have gold and silver bullion, you can look at it and be like, I'm up $117 an ounce. I'm up, $4.14 an ounce on silver. But this is the big area now. This is, if we can hold this area, we can make a much bigger play in the metals. If we don't give any, if we can keep going here, because technically gold is telling us 4,579 if it continues on this trajectory. Not looking horrible in the smaller time frames, to be honest. 4 hourly, yeah, it's a little bit bought up, but who cares? It's the 4 hourly. Daily's looking good. We'll see what they got in store for us, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be an interesting and choppy ride here to start the week. Oh, it's going to be an interesting one to start this week. This is like, you couldn't have had more drama to start the new year. And crypto right now, I feel like, is on the back burner, which is good for us. Like, this is so good for us, I can't even describe it if no one is really paying attention to it. Because right now on the world stage, silver is taking the show. And I think that's by design, because when the show was supposed to be, on silver, nobody was talking about it. Now the show right now should be on crypto with risk assets, along with having the gold and silver bullion and the exploration to get it out of the ground. But I think a lot of emphasis is going into that corridor right now, and I think we can make some sneaky money here. I think this is some sneaky money. What's going on, Kyle Coopy at Cape Cod? Kyle from Massachusetts. Welcome in, my brother. Appreciate seeing you in here. Frankie Fresh, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for 6+ months with the XP Predictor, along with JM. And Defined, very trusted mod in here in the Telegram. Defined is, and thank you as well. And Janine, if you're looking, thank you so much for the message. Fantastic couple the two of you are. And keep smiling, Janine. You have a beautiful smile. And Frankie, thank you so much for being a part of this with me. Happy Fox Super American Trapper, welcome in. Silver Days, Christopher, Mrs. Scott, thanks for being in Tom's Army with 3+ months with the XP Meteor. If you appreciate what I do, if you enjoy what I do, if you're grateful for just what's been able to be achieved, make sure you join Tom's Army. It's a small token of appreciation. It's pay it forward mentality. Hell, you can send a YouTube super chat if you want to. I'm not biased. Or you can gift a sub. But it helps me keep this to where I don't have to do any paid advertisements and things like that. And I would like to keep it going forward like that as long as I can. I think it's interesting that XRPNW had such a wicked fall this morning with what's going on with XRP, but it goes to show you, when the money's finding the exchanges, it'll find its way out of other classes. So, but the weekly is now oversold in a good way. We still are trying to find its identity, but we'll see how this consolidates. Now that's going to end up probably being the warrant side of it. So there'll be more news on that to come this year. There definitely will be more news to come on that this year. Let's see. Platinum's up 6%. PLG's up 12%. Murphy's is down about 5%. NOG's down 5.8%. That's so weird because oil's up 1.77%. That is weird. It's a little weird. I don't know if that speaks to something deeper. I know it's not Wednesday, but got 9,000 more XDC this morning. Excellent. I did actually buy a little bit more XDC when it was down, when everything else was up. What was that, Saturday night? Not like a crazy amount more, but definitely got a little bit more in anticipation for a move up here. Personally, I'm hoping to see XDC break above this little consolidation box that we're finally back in, that we drew out a few days ago. But this is where you get into that, okay, if we can get through here now, get to the top side, now we're cooking. So let's see if we can come out the other side here. And if we can, ultimately, yes, 5.5 cents is a big area. But to me, we've got to get up over this 577 with a little bit of flex. And then we'll flex a muscle up to like 7.3. That's the muscle flex I want to personally see. So we'll see what happens here. But we're doing everything we need to do right now. Now we've come up into this liquidity zone as well, which is good, and we're over the top. So now if we can stay over the top, we're going to definitely push that rising wedge here at some point. You know, we've got some areas in between. Let's see. It's not uncommon, but it's unusual for metals, miners, all three phases of the stock market, risk assets, risk off. It's definitely off. So something's gonna have to give. That's why we're asking the question, is it gonna be silver? That's my guess is gonna be they're gonna pull the miners and shove it down our throats. That's just my personal opinion. I think the easiest way to deflect us, because most people are in the stock market, they know how to trade the market, they're going into the miners. That's why I posed the question about B2 gold. It looks great, but then you start looking at it closer, and you could perceive that in the short term, at least, as a volatile move back down because of what looks like an ascending wedge is forming. I mean, I know it might not seem like it, but that could drive us down to like 420 and still be bullish. Like that's what I'm asking, because if the market is trying to fuck us over here in this market, you know, it did this and then it makes it look like it's going to come right up. But if they're trying to bend us, they're going to do this first and then try to drive it, and then it can come up. So I need to know, or do we think the metals will be bending us, or do we think they're going to take it out of risk? The obvious answer is risk. All day, every day, right? That's the point. I think everybody's expecting the safe haven to just play through. And I think it's going to be such a drastic change that it makes more sense to pull at retail in the metals. Everybody's talking silver right now. Silver can't fail, right? It's the can't miss trade of the century. Remember, that's what they were saying about crypto last January. It's the can't miss market. You know, people at the stores now are starting to get the gas stations, and like just more people that you wouldn't normally hear from are excited about silver. I've been talking about silver for years. I've never heard so many people talk about silver. I've never seen so many channels pop up on silver. That's right, Crypto Cooter. That is what you just said is on point. And thanks for being a very trusted mod in here in the Telegram and being in Tom's Under 6+ months of the XP Predictor. Said every market is bullish for a new year run at the same time. The only question is what market gets smoked. You are damn right about that. You are right about that. Bright Future Freedom, thank you so much for being in Tom's Under 3+ months with the XRP Media, and also one gifted sub. And XRP John Hall, perfect person to get it. Somebody who loves this community. Perfect person to get that gifted sub. And congratulations on being back in Tom's Under for 3+ months with the XRP Media, XRP John Hall. If you're watching, Mr. Hall. Ricky Ricardo says, another great show, Tom. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Really appreciate that. Oh yeah, the silver coins and stuff, they're definitely going they're definitely moving in price value for us, that's for sure. We just want to keep seeing this expansion in XRP, guys. And the cryptos. Oh, it makes me so nervous though for retail that's gonna come in this morning and just go. Think about it. If you're retail, what would you put your money in right now with what's going on in the world? Would you even look at crypto if you didn't know anything? Or would you just start, you look at the miners and you're like, look how much they're moving. Would you just start dumping it in here? I'm just asking an honest question here right now. And I need to know, like, you guys are retail and so am I. And if I didn't know any better, I would say this is the can't miss market. It's the point when it becomes can't miss, they can, I don't know. The last year of the fire horse was 1966, and ATMs were introduced, transforming banking, cultural revolution. And it works perfectly with our digital assets with the banking continuation, doesn't it? I mean, I'm telling you guys, I really think in crypto that this is the year where our lives change in a big way. We were patient. We understood what to do before the run in 24. We understood how to deal with it after it was over in January, and we understood how to reaccumulate back in at the proper times with the tokens we wanted on top of maybe what we already had from the bear market with XRP. So, you know, we've been given a golden opportunity here if we just keep following without emotion. Exactly, Elmer, that's the point. People will buy that, and so what's market's easier to manipulate at this moment in time? Where can you get more money? I almost say for the first time in a long time, there's more people that can get cooked right now because they're going and buying silver bars and all this other stuff. I think we could get cooked. We won't because we bought so long ago, but I'm just saying if you bought now, you ever hear the saying with the miners and gold and silver, if you buy at the wrong time, you're never too far away from an entry point where you lose 10 or 15% in a matter of seconds? With the miners, you're never too far from an entry on a volatile spike up when it feels parabolic and euphoric where all of a sudden you're holding the bag and you're down a third. Just to come back and make it back a couple months later, but who sits through it? My own anticipation was Q1 was going to be the shaky spot for gold and silver. And then by Q2, after they cut rates again in late January and everything starts shuffling with the printing of the money, it's just going to go unbelievable again. But it kind of threw a wrench in a little bit of what I was thinking because when it went to 83 and back to like 69, you know, that's a $17 gap that it filled down. Now it's come up so fast, you know, there was something left in between. But the question is where do we go now? We know we have to go to 93 at some point. Yeah, I don't have any realistic target for DGB anymore. I don't think about it enough, so I can't give you that. Honestly. So DGB, I can't answer that. It's still too close to my heart, and I really don't want to keep looking at that token because of obviously what's happened. And for anybody who doesn't know, I mean, I got my money back, but for a moment, 2 million tokens at 1 cent, when it had appreciated up a little bit after I had bought back, I had it on their wallet that they have on their website, tell you to use, and it just disappeared. Nothing worked. They didn't help. I contacted everything I could, and then I finally hunted down the creator of the actual wallet through Reddit, and you know, when there's $20,000 on the line, you really won't. You'll try to do whatever you can. So, got me my tokens back, and you know, ever since then, it's not been the same because of what I've seen, some of the things I was told. And yeah, you know. Anyhow, it was just a nightmare, just a big nightmare. So I don't know about DGB, to be honest with you. Thank you for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year on the $5 super chat. I really appreciate that, Mr. Bugathorpe. But for the Triple X Ha, For wave 4, XRP, I mean, realistically, 264 to that 287 if it can get above it. I realistically am looking at 264 first. Can it go higher? Yeah. And can it invalidate a bigger drop down? Yes. For XLM, it's like 20, what was it? Or 30 cents if it plays out properly. Because it would get out of this short consolidation. And I believe we're looking for a retest, just like with XRP. This would be at 30.8 cents. If XRP went up to 264, expect this to be somewhere around 30 cents. And then for XDC, you would expect this if it played out truthfully. If it does like the rest, you'd expect it to be somewhere up here on that 7.2 layer. If it does that, but it can go much higher. If we get above that layer, and I don't think it can happen in this short wave 4, obviously way up there, or even coming way up here. But I think if we got to those levels, you'd look at solid 7.2. But you got to get past 5.77 is the caveat. That's kind of like XRP getting past that 218 to 222 zone. H-bar. Up to that, if it played true and it actually did this, H-bar is unique because technically I would be willing to say that it could come all the way up here and tap that 17.7 in the best scenario. Worst scenario, and it gets cut off, and let's just say they get cut off, you got 14.7 over the top. You got to get past 13.3, but I would say 14.7 minimum in the scenario we laid out if that plays. I put a lot of XDC on my ledger. It's there, but I can't get it. Ooh, that's scary. That sounds scary to me. I hope that works out. I don't trust the I don't want to get into it. But yeah, I hope that you get that figured out ASAP. And with algo, this resistance point is going to be a big point up here at 18 cents. But obviously this has to play out in the proper fashion, but that's what I expect if it happens. Then you start getting over the top of these consolidations, then all of a sudden you can start talking about invalidating certain things and start making bigger plays. So. Oh yeah, the January 31st shutdown looming. That is very true, Cannabis Podcast. And thank you so much for being in Tom's Art 6+ months with the XP Predictor and doing all of the valuable things you do for the general populace with getting very little, we don't do it for the appreciation, I can tell you that much. B2 Gold up to 471 now. Let's see here. Let's see if our buddy can get hot. I told you I'm fascinated by B2 Gold right now. We'll see what it's got in store for us today. We'll see what this guy's got in store for us. Let's see. Man, it's a fascinating day. FYI, the KRAKEN link on your lives is broken. Oh, I'm glad you said that. I'll have to change that out. I don't even know why it still shares on there. I think it's part of the save thing I did for my Facebook page. Let's see. I'll make sure I check that out. But yeah, what do you guys think? What do you guys think about the what we were talking about with the markets and which markets could potentially fade or how this could play out? It's a fascinating topic of discussion. It really is. What is that, 1684 if it did decide to come down in the 15? So it's not a big move down. Even if it came down, that's not a big move at all on a lot of these. These are not big movements if it had to come down. What is B2 Gold if it does? Well, B2 Gold's trying to push up. But let's just say it came down and tested this area. That's not a big, that's 459. These are not huge moves back down to test this movement, which a lot of times you will get that test when you start to have these little golden crosses start forming in the small time frames. But again, it's going to be more like, what does the market want to do here? That's going to be the key. Doesn't seem like crazy, even if it pulled back a little bit. It doesn't seem crazy. It really doesn't. Dolly Varden. I mean, one could say maybe it's starting a little bit sooner than some of them in the smaller time frames. Because it looks like it's trying to come back to the 15. Maybe they are going to come back to the 15-minute. Ooh, why did B2 Gold do that? Maybe it is going to come back to the 15. That was kind of a harsh, sudden movement after going to 471. Yeah, if I was a betting man, I would say wait for that 15-minute retest and just see how this market reacts in the morning. I really would. I know I'm jumping around, but, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on in a lot of markets right now. This is unusual. This is the other part that I'm watching. Like, as much as I want to buy, I can't. I'm compelled not to. Because every single time oil's had a big run up, they've always cut like basically in half right before the run up. And I know it's such a distortion now. And yeah, this throws a caveat into it, which kind of sucks what happened in Venezuela. But let's put it this way. When was the last time you seen, first of all, a leader of another country get taken out, the president nonetheless? No casualties. Nothing. And right before that, the sitting U.S. president gives China and then some other countries the sitting order to go in there and take all of the silver out of the vaults. Oh, this is common knowledge now if you just look. And the wife and the husband, the president, Maduro, and his wife, they look like they just got done smoking some stogies, getting massages, hot oil, like facials, and the best steak and wine and just luxurious alcohol. It didn't look like somebody who just had all that happen. So, but I think even more than the miners, if you hold physical silver, because the miners, just like crypto, it's just a piece of paper till you can get it in your pocket. But the precious metal, the actual precious metal, is something different. If someone were to start investing in the stock market and doesn't have a lot of experience, is Fidelity or Schwab a good option? I used to use Charles Schwab, and I loved it. I've never used Fidelity. The only exposure to Fidelity I have is 2 of my mutual funds, which I do have to buy my mutual funds now. I have the money in there for this year because it went up to $7,500. I've just been looking through my options. But anyhow, I would probably in that scenario, because I have experience, I like Charles Schwab, but now I use the JP Morgan trading app. It's free if you have an account through JP Morgan. I like that it's obviously the ones who are basically controlling the world. So if the bank's going to go, that's probably going to be the last one. Yes, all the mining stocks basically that I talk about have dividends. They're very low nonetheless. Obviously, like Silver Corp and Dolly Varden, you're not getting one. Fortuna doesn't have one. First Majestic is like 0.2 or 0.3%. It's very small. Pan America is very small, like 0.2 or 0.3. Hecla might be what, 0.8? B2 Gold used to be the steal when we were accumulating it, because it had like 6-7% dividend. Now it's down to like what, 2? And then Barrett has a very small one as well. There's not, if you're investing in the miners, they're not huge dividends, especially when the price is appreciating like this. You don't get as big of dividends at this point. The dividends is when the miners aren't moving as much. You'll see them increase the dividends to try to get some people to buy them and hold. I am interested to see if this does pull this into the 15. This would give us confirmation for a bigger move if it does. It's not, I mean, that is not a big pullback. That's actually surprisingly small. If it were to hold there, this would be a. But I mean, you can see how retail right now can get caught being a little bit of a bag holder to start the day, unintentionally, of course. It's unintentionally, of course. They're not trying to be, we're retail. We're not trying to be bag holders, damn it. It's a series of unfortunate events, we'll call it. We know not better. We know no better. So imagine it's volatile. Oh, this is the wrong one. First Majestic. It got up here and you're like, oh my God. It's at $18. It can't stop. And then you buy this wick, right? It's common. It's the open of the day. It's common. Then all of a sudden after the retest, and this is no fault of most of retail. And just think about this. This is what we were talking about in the open when it was up. It was like 13% when I started. It was up. Or 12%, something like that. But we had the talk so now all of a sudden you're down 6.63%. But the stock itself, and these are those tricky situations I always talk about when you buy a candle when it's running. Where was it? Monday started here. So now even if you're down 6.6, it's actually up 5.1% of the day, and people are like, oh, that's pretty good. Even with the back test, it's still up 5.1, but you're down 6.6. That's the same dilemma here. Even though B2 Gold looks good, to buy it right here, you could be part of this. Hey, look, I'm buying it right here at 468, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, you're down 2.5%, 3%. If you bought it on that opening run up, it's not as bad as the silver miners, but if it comes down, you're talking 3.5%, 4%. You're starting to get towards. So this is that dick and pony show we get to see, or the dog and pony show. But Dolly Varden's one of the early ones that's showing us that this might be happening. You got caught, let's just say you got caught up on the early one. You're already down 4%, looking at over 5%. This is exactly it. That's why you look for confirmation when you get these. I said it for what it was when I started. I said, this feels like euphoria, and I don't know why. Oh yeah, the Dominion voting machines, yes indeed. And that's going to validate how the 2020 election was rigged. And, that's the on-site. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here. It's really weird how they're doing this, to be honest with everybody. So yeah, that's just my observation so far of the market. Silver still is not looking bad. $76.95. In the 15-minute, does it come down and start retesting some? It has a couple times, and now it looks like it could push out again. 30-minute came within this morning and back tested. Can it stay over? Can we keep pushing? I mean, we're gonna continue to have a story developing with silver. There's no doubt about it. As the days go on, as the opportunity seems more can't miss. I bag hold, I round trip, I cash out, I score big. I love it. Happy Fox, I love that. Carlos says Bearded Viking is. Oh, wait a minute. I didn't see that question. Wait a minute, what's going on here? Hold on. Be careful with Coinbase, everyone. They have frozen my account. I notice I'm missing some XRP. I'm probably going to have to step away because of this and everything going on. I'm disheartened and overall bummed because I'm trying to create something for my family's future and feel like I get ahead and back 5 stops. I am so sorry to hear that. And we continue to pray for Mighty Marcus. Let's not lose the focus, at least for faith from our community, for Mighty Marcus as he continues to fight the good fight. But this is just another caveat to what I dislike about crypto in 2026 and 25. It's just pushing towards, they call for regulation, but at the same time, it's easier and easier and easier for the tier 1 exchanges to steal from us. And it's not fair. It's not fair. No, I don't have Uphold. I used to have the Uphold card before they got rid of it in the USA, but due to them keeping Julie's 1000 XRP and not letting her, this closing her account and act like she never existed and giving no recourse, and we've tried for years. I don't do business with Uphold. Period. It's making it harder and harder for me to deal with crypto, you know, like I've said for a while now. It's making it harder and harder with all of the stuff that's happening. There's a lot of scams. And it's disheartening, to be honest. But, you know, we got to do what we got to do. B2 Gold at 466 now. Could be taking that little tug down here now that we were talking about. We'll see. Some of them are still holding up, but some of them are starting to come back a little bit more volatile. Like Dolly Varden's starting to come down a little heavier. Hekla, once it got over 2030, it kind of just rotated back. Everything kind of rotated back. Silver's not rotating back. It's still at 77. I get a gut uneasy feeling when I see like how oil was up and then they pulled the miners. It's very easy to topple the miners over, even if the actual metal or the oil is doing good. That's the scary part about trading miners when they're in a rally. You want to be in it before the rally just in case they end up doing some crazy stuff. I know for anybody in my audience who's been in it for a while, you know why I say that. Define, remember what we talked about last night, exactly what you were just talking about. If this plays out the way we are thinking with silver correction, let this be a very valuable learning experience of how deceitful the narratives are in the transfer of institutional assets. And wouldn't this have been a great way for the institutions to transfer their silver make? When it bounced up to 83, they knew it was coming. They know. And then they switched it into the crypto or into the risk asset, or the risky side of the market, and now look what's happened. I mean, XRP alone's come from $1.81 to $2.18. Bitcoin alone's gone from what, 81,000 back up to 93.7. Look how much money they made. Ethereum has come from, you know, we got to go back actually, you know, because we got to go back into the bottom of the pattern. We want to go back to December, though. From December 18th, it's gone from 27.75. Or if you want to go from the end of the year right here, when silver had that big spike in here and this ended up crashing, look what's happened here. So, and if Ethereum gets outside of 3,240, oh my goodness. Every silver coin you buy, you'll make $20 on that coin minimum, easy in 2 years, but it won't be it won't take 2 years. No, it shouldn't take 2 years. But this, I mean, I can't disagree with you. This would be a very valuable lesson, even for myself. Even for myself. Even though I'm trying to stay ahead of this. It's hard, man. We'll see what silver and gold has in store. I don't know if it's going to actually play out like that. Maybe it'll just go up to 93, you know, right now. It might, you know, you never know. I'm all for it to keep going up. I mean, I like the metal. Because at least in the short term, you're going to get this volatility. This is that price range. Back up, what is it, to 83 where it was at? This is that price range, that action. Our government's just never known that, you know, to give us the proper narrative. So that's it's a big caveat here. Always take private pics on transaction history when you make a change block. Any sensitive info due to potential hacks, that's your assurance. I'm trying to let you guys talk this through because you guys are giving some great information. Frankie Fresh, have a good day back at work. Hopefully, yes, we'll see you later. I'm very hopeful that my son has a good day at school today. He was very happy to go to school, so I'm hoping that everything goes good. He stayed up with me last night until like 2 a.m. or so, or 2:30, but he was very excited to go to school today. Just so super excited. He has such a good predisposition. Look at this. Oil stocks. This is the story of the day, though, because we're looking to get into these when they have this drop. Is that a double top that form finally, or are we just back testing? Like, this is volatile. This could be a sign for oil what's to come. But you see oil's going up and the miners, or the actual companies, going down pretty steadily. Generally, when this happens, this is because institutions are going to load in once this falls out. So we'll see how far they let it go. PLG's pulled back about 4%. Nothing major. It's still up 9.4%. Everything's been pretty... It's just been stuck. Everything's kind of stuck. It's just kind of bouncing in and out. B2 Gold just kind of been bouncing, doing its own thing for the last... since we started. We'll see if it can continue out of here and pull, get up to $5 out of this. Or if it wants to back, I don't know what the hell these are going to do in the short term, because there's so much manipulation right now when it comes to the pricing of silver. The only thing I can say is if you hold physical gold and silver, rejoice. Friggin' rejoice. That's all I can say. Rejoice. And crypto right now. Yes, lots of food for thought here this morning. Including what's going on to somebody we really love dearly in this community. Bearded Viking like that. It makes me sick, all this stuff that happens. And it's happened to me too, so like it just makes me sick in this space. Wait a minute, Elmer, are you John Wiseman? Oh, I know, Define. That would be the worst if that happened. That would be a bad scenario. I'm predicting silver $95 USD in 6 or less months. Absolutely. We'll see if it takes that long to get all the way up there. I mean, it could. You never know. You never know with what they're trying to do behind the scenes. Because, I mean, silver can only go so high here. That's why I told Define to watch the $77 especially level. Because with the way the banking is set up right now, it makes it very tricky. I do think B2 Gold, though, has the potential here to rally out. I really do. If it can just hang on here. Yes, I'm cautiously optimistic. Would be the best way I can put it. I'm cautiously optimistic here. There's nothing wrong with caution. Yes, John Wiseman, Elmer. Good, good, good. You own a mansion and a yacht. I like it. I like it. Absolutely bright future said, when I look at gold and silver, I think, damn, my kids are going to be happy. In the meantime, I have to teach them how to use it to their advantage. 100%. 100%. You said it perfect. You absolutely said it perfect. We got to lay the foundation for the next generation, that's for sure. And the best way to lay it, I thought, was with gold and silver. Because we become our own central banks. And then, you have the risk assets with crypto. Then if you want to get into the miners, I'm not telling anybody they have to. Especially at this point. But, there's different ways to utilize this market. And crypto is a big part of, making quick wealth. If you do it right. And, we've been talking about this wave 4 expansion and where it was going to break down to for a while. So we've been all over this. Not just me. And this played out exactly like we wanted it to the T. Every step of the way, it's done exact. I mean, at some point, you look at it and you're like, wow. It's pretty insane when you start to understand the actual technicals, the support resistance, the narratives, the news, the notes. Is there a part of me that wishes that I didn't have all the miners that I do and I don't have all that money on paper? Yeah, so you better believe it. I almost think I might have went overboard on the miners. And I should have still bought more silver and stuff, even though I got a good amount. Question, Tom. At one point in time, it was about when you bought in with XRP, but now it's about how much you have at this point. No. It's not. It's all about when you bought in for XRP. It's about it now for XRP at this point because there's no way for retail to drop $3,000 and get 10,000 tokens. It's just not. It's not possible. Now retail's got to drop almost 22 grand for those tokens. So what ends up happening is, if you were going to trade $3,000 then, you're going to trade $3,000 now because that's your budget, and they'll have 12 or 1,300 tokens, and they'll just go along with that way. So, you know, it's would buying XDC now be stupid? XDC is significantly undervalued where it's at, but at the same time, it's up 4.1% on the day. You know, I can't tell you if it's stupid. I'm not a financial advisor. I own XDC. But I mean, to chase a green candle, it often gets you hurt. Like a lot of people in the miners, even if it goes up another 30% from here, there's going to be this up and down consolidation. So if you're just buying it because it's green, well, the next day when it goes red for a day, or 2 days later, or 3 days later, you're probably going to get caught up in the sweep. And you just want to make sure you have conviction to what you own. If you like what you own, you're not going to care if it goes down a little bit. You know? It's the best way I can put it. You know, that's the best way I can put all of this. If you like what you own, you're in good shape. You're in good shape. If you're nervous about what you own and if it goes down, you're like, well, I didn't want to have it anyhow. That's where you can get in trouble. I've been there too many times to admit. Being in something, knowing something's going to happen, but seeing it happen even when it's going down and you don't really want to be in it, that's the worst feeling in the world. So Josh, no, it's not that it's a bad decision. It's just you're buying it on a green candle. It's like for XDC, I would have preferred for you to buy it on Saturday when it was down like 3-4% compared to the rest of the field, instead of now it's like 8 or 9% higher than then. So, very hard sometimes. My mind says, do not buy. My heart says, chase the green. Ultimate battle for the future. Oh, Carl, you've said it to a T. And thank you for being in Town Zone for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Lonzo, thanks for being in Town Zone for your first month with the emoji badge and me being abducted by aliens. All great questions. These are all great questions this morning. XDC in the past year is down 25% year over year. You know, these are a great way to look at it now. Algo year over year is down 58%. IOTA is down 64% year over year. So when I told, you know, my instruction was to sell in January of last year and buy the miners and gold and silver. Well, miners particularly, but gold and silver before the expansion. I had done silver stacking series for years. And look, XRP in the past year is one of the few that is up in the market cap and the price even. You go to XLM, down 30%. You know, go to VeChain, down 72%. Go to HBAR, down 54%. You know, go to Bitcoin, pretty even now after this move, down 1/4%. Go to Ethereum, down 5.2%. Go to XRP Healthcare, down 75%. You know, and then you put the prospectus up here and you go, well, what about gold? Up 68% year over year. B2 Gold up 81% year over year. Silver up 160% year over year. Pan American Silver up 153%. Hecla up 279%. First Majestic up 199%. Fortuna up 121. Silvercorp Mining up 194. And this is up 68%. Big contrast from what we're seeing. So if you're looking at contraction versus expansion, and you were looking to see what could cool off in the interim, what they could, it's obvious what they could. And then you start going through it like this. I'll give you one more caveat here. You start looking through these in the monthly, significantly overbought, which you can't put all the stock in there, overbought. You know, B2 Gold's at least pulling back down a little bit. Gold, significantly overbought. Hecla, significantly overbought. First Majestic, significantly overbought. Fortuna, significantly overbought. Silvercorp, significantly overbought. Dolly Varden, pulling down like B2 Gold a little bit. Then you've got crypto on the other hand. Algo, undervalued, oversold significantly. Or IOTA. Algo in the monthly, oversold. Ethereum in the monthly is at the neutral point, but you see the W reversal. This would be the back test for it to have some volatility. It's going to have it to the upside. You've got Bitcoin oversold in the monthly. You've got XRP oversold in the monthly. You've got XLM oversold in the month. You see what I'm saying? You've got XDC oversold in the monthly. VeChain significantly oversold in the monthly. HBAR oversold in the monthly. So everything's flipped from last January. So are you if you're on the sidelines and you're looking at this right now and you're looking at all the miners, you're looking at silver, you're looking at gold from an objective standpoint, and you look just at the stochastic RSI knowing nothing else in the monthly and you see how significantly overbought it is, yeah, it shouldn't be the end all be all, but that tells you how much pressure there's been and for how long. It doesn't mean it's going to end. You know, it could go years. It just tells you there was a lot of expansion to get to where we're at right now. And really, the only thing left is a little bit of a contraction to try to allow more people into the space, or it's just going vertical. So that's the two options. If we just go vertical, that would be great, because then we don't have to worry about any of this crap, and we just keep going up with our metals. And then with crypto, you know, it seems like we needed some kind of relief rally at worst. We're so oversold. Oh yeah, silver and gold's not going anywhere. That is your store of value. There is nothing else in this world that's a store of value. The only difference is it's not linked to our money anymore. And that's why our money is a currency and an IOU at that. But yeah, this is all fascinating stuff to me. Oh, how is the right way to utilize silver? Save it for your next generation. How did the Kennedys and many other ones that were very rich and are powerful, they didn't turn their gold in when there was the gold turn-in. They kept it. All the families that are rich and in power now in the USA, they kept their gold. They don't teach you that in school because you'd be mortified. That's why they have the fake lines from the buyback. There was no lines like that. There was just as much nonsense as there is now with the distraction tactic. They'll make something look like it's something, but it's not. I'm convinced of that. Oh, how is the right way to utilize? Wait a minute. What did I miss? My money, just asking if buying in now or wait for a drop. I can't tell you that. That's financial advice. If I say, John, go ahead and buy right now, and then it goes down, well, legally, I'm telling you to buy something. I can't say that. It's your money. That is the correct thing to say. It's your money, so ultimately, you've got to make that decision. It's not an easy decision. But with XDC, just look at the setup. You know, you're buying on, it's a green day, which I try not to buy on green, but it's also back testing, you know, a potential move up here. If it holds this 539 area is a good sign. So, but we got to stay inside of that box. If we fall back outside the liquidity box, I don't know where it comes down. We have to figure out where that next support structure, it could be a little bit below. But it's hard to tell right now. It's Monday, and there's a lot of different volatility going on across many different markets. And today's not a zero-sum game of just, oh, crypto is going to do X, Y, and Z, because there's such a variable right now with gold and silver. There just is. You know, there's this big variable today with gold and silver. It is what it is. I wish it was more simple. I wish there was a better answer and simpler. But the fine said, Tom, you said silver does 80% of its move in the last 20% of the bull run. The ratio was 101 to 1 at one point. Now it's 58 to 1. Silver did most of the run, not gold. I know that's the other part of this. It is starting to creep up there. But until it breaks down, you know, there's a lot of demand. I'm curious to see how far they let it go up. The more dollars it goes up, the more my precious metals are worth, so I'm not going to complain. They want to keep driving the price up by all means. I'll sit here and just think to myself, you know, how lucky we are to be in this position. How about that? But it's a surreal moment, I can tell you that much. This whole thing is surreal. Let's see. To be clear, even a buy of silver here in the long future will be a great investment. I'm speaking short term. Are we going to tie up our capital while everything moves to risk? No, I understand exactly what you're saying. You're talking about capital you have on hand right now. It's a great question. Getting a little expansion here right now. 121 bucks up on gold right now. Now up 6.7% on silver. Is this the high point of the day now, by the way? Yes, I believe it is. I believe it is. We got this 77. We've already broke out of this part of the pattern, so. This is fascinating. For me, it is. I know I keep pulling away from crypto, but how can you not take your eyes off this? How can you not? It's just a beautiful sight here. I'm still very curious about B2 Gold if it's going to have a rally in the short term right now. I know it's dependent on a couple of factors, but it's certainly pushed back up here. Looks like it's kind of got a bottoming formation here in the 1 minute. I know the 1 minute doesn't tell you shit. 5 minute golden cross back tested. 30 minute pulling back up, trying to reverse here back to the top side. It is a crazy world out there. Platinum undervalued at new highs. Platinum is severe. Yes, it is. Because normally platinum is either level with gold or more priced higher, and right now it's like half price of gold. So yeah, there's definitely a disparity there. Eyes on the rug pull and the risk assets. That is what I am trying to see when and if that happens. That's certainly what it feels like to me is starting to set up. Every market, even the mining stocks and precious metals, they all have rug pull moments. And, you know, I've been watching the mining stocks now for the last several weeks get to the same level, and they keep getting rejected. Eventually, if you get rejected too many times and just come back down, it signals exhaustion. And right now I've had the feeling of euphoria this morning, and I feel exhaustion from just going down and back up. Not in my own mind. I'm saying the market could be exhausting itself in the same little area now. And we've been in this area for a while now. We're lower than we were for some of these when we got to the top. I know some of them, no, it hasn't quite got back up there yet. These would be shoulders right now, and that's what we have to make sure that these go up. This is what I was trying to say. Like, if this is going to bounce out, we're going up to new heights. If it's creating another shoulder here, I don't know what it's going to do. But this is all dependent on what the makers want to do to us right now. We don't have control. If it was a normal market, this would explode right now. But miners are, in my opinion, because of where they're valued, are still undervalued. It's just, yeah, in some of the time frames, do we train ourselves when the weekly's overbought to kind of look the other way from it and let it consolidate? Yes. But, you know, and what would we normally say? Well, if the weekly's overbought, let's see the next time it comes back down and tests the 20. It did here, runs up. Now you just want to see if it can continue that same agenda, but it's going to take some movement. It's holding the daily today, which is great. Oversold. So definitely room. It's held the initial push up, which is good for these. But yeah. Silvercorp Mining, same thing. It's pushed up. Now it's conceivably, if it doesn't break past here, it'd be almost a double top in here in the rate in its range. But if it breaks out of this resistance up here at $9.32, now we're going to be talking a little bit. We'd be talking. Definitely be talking here just a little bit. So we're really getting to this point up here now. I know somebody else said it's a make it or break it moment. It's a make it or break it moment for precious metals and mining stocks, because if it's a make it moment, they can go up very quickly. Very quickly. But if it's a break it moment, that would just be kind of why we're feeling, I don't know. When you start to feel euphoria, you have to understand, like, I feel euphoria and I love it. But I know a lot of times when I feel euphoria, it very quickly reverses the other way. When I say market maker, what I really mean, it depends the circumstance. So like with silver, the market maker right now is basically the central banks that are being margin called within many different countries, and they can only have the price go up so high before they just, and the reverse repo market keeps having to add in money at the end of the week to keep these banks solvent. So it seemed to me that maybe a utility run here with crypto would be in order while they kind of slap around silver. But, you know, mostly though, when I say market manipulation, I'm talking about the trading algorithm. So they simply turn off the buys or the sells within the trading algorithm for the trading bots, which is what makes all of the actual moves. Otherwise, the whole entire market couldn't move up or down at the same time. It's just not possible. But it always does, so, you know. There's a caveat there, of course. This is down to 5.94%. And remember, it didn't look like it when it was coming up here to double top, but I circled the area where it needed to come into at minimum for us to have a rally. And now we're going to see if it breaks through it or not. If it can't break through it, you know, we could have a little bit of choppiness as we get into these next resistance areas. Bright Future says it will go to $66 when they get the silver from under Maduro's house. I know, I heard that too, which is kind of funny. But I don't trust it. I'll continue to say it. I feel like we've got a nice little trap set up here. There's a lot of money going into risk right now, which is also telling us to be careful in non-risk assets, because when money's finding yield in risk, there's a reason why. If people are investing in risk assets, even though the non-risk is moving, well, and when I say people here, I mean the institutions, there's a reason why. But these can be short plays, obviously. That's why the best advice is just, if you have silver and gold, don't do anything with it, just hold it. Miners, if you have a bunch of profits, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Like I said, some are up 200-300% since we bought it, so I'm not going to tell you what to do. You know, profit is profit, profit is king. Even if you took back 100% and paid yourself back everything you invested in the miners and let the rest run on the house, that's an acceptable strategy. That's an acceptable strategy. Yep, cautiously optimistic in risk assets, but the optimism grows every day. XRP gets higher and higher over $2. And then all the others that are falling. Algo seems to be at a discount this morning, I'll say that. Algo seems to be at a nice little discount this morning. But, you know, that's only if the market plays through. But yeah, I'm going to have to go here, though, obviously. It's 12 o'clock. Got some work to do for the class stuff. Before my son gets out of school. I got a lot of work to do today. And please be safe in the miners. I'm your friend Tom, the biggest proponent of mining stocks. If I'm saying euphoria sometimes is felt right before we come out on the other side, you know, it means it's a possibility. And $77 isn't giving me any better feeling right now because we've hovered around it. That was the area that I thought was going to be tricky to get past. And I told Define, I don't know how much higher past 77 we can go yesterday, you know, based on where the contracts are. But we'll see if they can pull it up real fast or not. This is our key moment right now, if they can do it or not. I don't know, the miners are starting to pull back again. And it's interesting, if you ask me what's going on. The other one that's interesting, like, look how fast the miners are starting to pull back. Now, all of a sudden, First Majestic just fell another couple percent after it tried to have another push. So it is coming back in the 15 like we talked about. It really looks like it's going to try to come back to the 15 and test this out. If it falls below the 15, I don't want to damper any hopes. This has been a great thing. Elmer said your clock is fast. It's only 10 a.m. Yeah. But honestly, other reason I need to go is I worked out this morning and I've already done a decent amount of steps, like 3,000 with my weightlifting, and I haven't eaten since, last night because I fast 16 hours a day until noon every day from last night. And the main reason I like to do it is because now I'm not tempted to eat at night. Seriously, there's no way to have a craving when you know you can't eat after a certain time. And yesterday I ate until like 9 because I ate late. I didn't eat until like 1, which was bad. But I don't know. This makes me feel very uneasy, and I'm glad we stuck to the narrative here and didn't jump the gun with anything. I'm glad that I was honest with you guys about the miners too, with where they're at. This could be a very healthy lesson. Now, nothing's broke yet. But look, if they start coming down, you're going to see it come down 4 or 5%, pretty quickly in the miners. And that's just not cool. I don't want anybody holding the bag when this bag shouldn't be being held right now. From a too high of an input. This is where timing the market rather than time in market is going to pay dividends. The timing of the market allows you the time in the market. Some people are like, well, if it's only about timing the market, what does it matter about the time in? It's because you need to time it properly to sustain the time in the market. You could stay in the market for years if you time it properly. Look at us with XRP. But if you don't time it properly, you can end up sitting in the market for years being down a significant amount of money. While somebody's been in it for the same amount of time, but they just happened to catch it at the right time. They knew what they wanted. They knew what they were looking at. But let's see how this volatility goes. I'm really excited about this. Try drinking baking soda before your workout. They say it gives you more energy. I've never tried that, to be honest. I've never tried that. I'm going to have to look into that. I always like healthy. I always like advice that doesn't that people don't bring up steroids and stuff, because I don't like anabolics or anything like that. I won't even take like a prescription. So it always makes me nervous when I hear about people with like the roids, or I watch them on social media. It's very nerve-wracking. I used to be a personal trainer in Powerhouse Gym. I stopped going to because when I was doing my interning, because nobody will intern you, so I went to Powerhouse because and I was wondering why they were letting people. But there's a lot of roids going on back there. That gym got shut down a long time ago where it was at. And just seeing the people that were harming themselves for a better physique was actually downright horrifying. And now you see all the influencers for working out. They're all the ones who are on anabolics that are the big ones. You got them everywhere. So... But it's bad for the next generation, because now people are willing to throw away the back end of their life when they get to my age now. A lot of these people are having heart attacks, strokes. Well, even before their 40s. A lot of people, it's happened in their late 20s. You've seen a lot of power lifters in the bodybuilding world. A couple of them died in their late 20s, early 30s recently. Bring your pH up. Interesting. Now, one thing I do like to drink is chlorophyll, plant blood. I do that every day with my vitamins. I trust the Liver King. Hey, I know a lot of people bash the Liver King, and he did lie about all of this stuff, because he's clearly on anabolics, but I like the guy still. He's a likable guy. I don't know why. I like that guy. He seems to be true to himself, except the fact that he won't tell people he's on anabolics. Just tell people that part and it'd be cool. Just like Mike O'Hearn. The guy claims he's natural as can be, but nothing about his body's natural. He's got so many implants in his body and clearly on anabolics. You know, I've been doing it the natural way for 3 years, and it takes a lot of time, and I'm proud of what I've achieved so far. Might not be a lot in comparison to some, but I'm proud of the, you know, that muscle. That's real. That's a real fucking muscle. That's not no anabolics. That's just hard work, determination, and it might not be, if I was doing anabolics, yeah, I might be 5 times bigger muscle-wise, but I might have also taken off 25 years. Hell, I might have already had a stroke or something. I live in Austin, and he came here and got arrested for threatening Joe Rogan with the gun. Who's that, the Liver King? or Michael Hearn. I don't know. I said a couple different names. Okay, so with protein, I make my own with the whey protein isolate, and it's unflavored, and there's no carbs. It's just the protein. And I mix that with my own amino acids as well. It's like a collagen mixed with the amino acids. And I like to put peanut butter powder in it. But I make my own protein shake. It's about 375 to 400 calories because of the milk. But it's my first thing I eat and or drink of the day. But it fills me with the protein and all the stuff I need. The only other thing that I have before would be my vitamins. I like to do it on an empty stomach. I think it absorbs better. Gives you a weird taste in your mouth when you're not eating any other food, though. That's the only thing that sucks. Also, it'll make your breath smell bad because herbs. Ooh, there's some finicky guys there. There's some finicky ones. But look at platinum. Still up 6.3%, and platinum group was up like 13. Now it's 8.5. So we're getting that pullback here right now. Not a huge, like I said, it might not be a huge one. It's interesting. The silver part is what's interesting because it literally bounced over 77 real quick, got to almost 78, and now we're back under 77. Let's see what happens here. Because my whole theory to define was once we got around that 77, they weren't going to be able to go much higher. And if they did, just look out. If it goes higher than here, there's ramifications for all of us. Because if those banks get margin called, guess what? It's a bank bail-in, folks. There's no more bailouts. We got to pay it. The reverse repo is only going to work for so long if they drive the silver price up. It can't continue. There's not enough money to print. Yeah, there's a lot of money, but do you want to be Venezuela where you got a wheelbarrow full of money just to buy a loaf of bread? That's why you got to be careful when the stock market's always going up. Venezuela's stock market's up millions of %. But the people don't have, it ain't worth nothing. It ain't worth nothing. That's all. It's just not worth nothing. But it makes your breath smell like a vampire. You got that right. I love steak too. And like in the wintertime when I'm not cooking it on a barbecue, you know, I only cook it in extra virgin olive oil. I don't cook in anything else. I don't use any kind of vegetable or canola oil. But you got to understand with extra virgin olive oil, you can't really go above medium because it can't go above a certain temperature. Otherwise it blackens everything and that's no good. But I like to put a little bit of breadcrumbs on the outside of the breaded steak. I put the thinnest layer you can imagine, but it still gives it a little bit of crisp. But I really like that, and when like working out too, I've noticed I really like to eat potatoes for the carbs. And like, I'm never gonna be the skinniest person in the world. I have a weird bone structure. I have really high hips too, so my hips are like on my sides, which has always hurt since I was a kid, but there's nothing I can do about it because that's just my genetics. It gave me a good disposition for basketball because I could jump twice before most people could jump once. It was a really weird thing as a fat person, but I don't have that ability anymore because I can't jump. Everything's fucked since my accidents, but let's see, rotation could be explosive if these metals. Oh my god, guys! If you want to talk about does anybody want to relax with me? Do you guys want to relax with me real quick? I feel like we should relax together. Do you guys want me to leave or not? I'm gonna go in there real quick. I think I'm gonna roll something for us. I'll talk to Julie. Julie, we're having an active discussion. I was thinking about rolling a joint and continuing our ride. Did you want to come out and relax, or do you want to wait? I'm going to make my protein and look in the fridge. I don't have to wait just a second. Sorry, guys. I got to get this taste out of my mouth. Oh, this could be a good learning opportunity. We could have a good learning opportunity here while you're waiting for me. When did Dolly Varden come back down under 470? I thought it. I gotta remember it can come several percent up and down in split seconds just to go back up or to go back down with how it's going. Where was it at? I'm not going to be able to remember it. He talked about it in the beginning.
Where I was on silver. So what we've seen in the last week doesn't look anything like 1980. So you can't go back and say, yeah, this is another blow off top, just like then, and now silver's going to be in a bear market for 20 years. It's not.
Yeah, listen to this.
Number one. Now, looking at a more recent example of silver having a big move up was 2011 when it almost got to 50. It didn't quite get there. It got up to like 47-ish, 48. But that rally also started in the year 2000, 1990. It was another 10-year move. Silver started around $4. So silver went up more than 10x before it had that big surge. Also, the significance of that surge was that it encountered resistance at $50. So it didn't break through the prior high. That's why it pulled back. But it also had a 10-fold gain. Now, the most recent rally, if you really want to trace where the rally began, I think it began when silver broke above 30. And so the move from 30 to 80 was not even quite a triple. But more significant, the move didn't stop at the $50 resistance. It paused there, but then it blew through 50 and went all the way up to 84. That is a massive breakout. This is not a blow off top. This is a breakout of huge resistance that goes back to 1980. This is very significant technical action. The fact that we've pulled back to 70 doesn't negate the significance of the breakout above 50. And what I think is even better for people buying silver right now, because if you were looking at $70 silver a couple of weeks ago, people might have been afraid to buy the top. Oh, I don't want to buy 70 because could go back down to 50. Well, now, if you're buying $70 silver, $71 silver, you're not buying the top. The top was 84. We've had a significant correction in the silver market, and it's still above 70. So the correction is already out of the way. It's not like there's a correction coming. It already came. And in fact, I think now the support for silver is around 70. It's not 50, it's 70. Right? 50 is gone. The opportunity to buy $50 silver doesn't exist anymore. And that is the reason that I was pounding the table to buy silver way before it got to 50. I was telling everybody on my podcast that once we went through 50, we were going to make a quick move up to 100. And my forecast was $100 silver by next year. And we're certainly on track to get there, finishing this year above 70. You know, I mentioned this too on my space, but I'll mention it again because it was really ridiculous. Because I was watching CNBC on that Boxing Day morning, and I'm watching Squawk Box, and Steve Leisman, who's the senior economics reporter, they're pointing out gold and silver. They're kind of laughing about how much they're up and how much they're up on the year. And then Steve Leisman says, yeah, nobody saw this coming. I can't think of a single person who was pounding the table to buy gold or silver at the beginning of the year. Yeah, he can't think of a single person because none of the guests on CNBC were smart enough to be pounding that table. But I was pounding it as loud as I could. See, the problem is Steve Leisman blocks me on X, so he doesn't see any of my posts. And I guess he doesn't listen to my podcast, so he doesn't realize that I and other people, he just couldn't think of those other people, were in fact pounding the table. I was pounding it. In fact, I literally said I'm pounding the table to buy gold and silver. And all year from the end of last year, when a lot of people were bearish because of the election of Donald Trump. People thought that Donald Trump's election was bearish for gold and silver because it was going to be great for the U.S. economy, great for the dollar. It wasn't. The dollar went down. It didn't crash, but it went down. Maybe it's going to crash in 2026. What everybody on CNBC was pounding the table on when the year began was Bitcoin. Ironically enough, right? Yeah, every guest that came on CNBC was saying you got to buy Bitcoin. After all, we got a Bitcoin president. We got a big.
See, this is the importance of playing this through that part to now. And this is true, but now I think the narrative's changing because a lot more silver is being talked about. So let me finish rolling this, and then we'll get back to our discussion.
Bitcoin strategic reserve. We got strategy buying Bitcoin. We got all these new Bitcoin treasury companies. We've got all these ETFs. You can't lose, right? You got to buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin was one of the only things that was down on the year. In fact, obviously, Bitcoin hasn't stopped trading yet because it trades until midnight tonight. As I'm looking at it, it's around 87,500. But I looked at where the Bitcoin ETFs closed because they're done for the year. And the Bitcoin ETFs were down just over 7.5% on the year. Even though the NASDAQ was up over 20% and gold was up over 64%. So Bitcoin didn't go up with risk assets. It didn't go up with risk off assets. It just went down.
Yeah, for laundromat.
When everybody expected it to go up.
I thought it was for maybe across
if something
the street,
doesn't go up, when everybody thinks it's going to go
in
up,
Jimmy's parking lot.
That's a pretty good indication that it's going to go down, right? Because
it's hard to believe they're all getting their laundry at the same time, but it is lunch.
Right? And you couldn't have gotten more good news than Bitcoin got. So if a market can't go up on good news, that means all that good news is already priced into the market. So anything that could possibly be good is already factored into the Bitcoin price. And that means all that it can do is go down. And I think Bitcoin is going to have a much, much weaker year in 2026 than it had in 2025.
What'd they say?
And a good indication of that is the performance of strategy. So strategy stock closed the year making a new...
Now listen to what he's saying. And if we were talking about mining stocks, or if we were talking about gold and silver having these kind of corrections, because risk asset is just that. You want to be in risk assets when they hit these lows, when they are at a point where it's at that point of no return. Like, listen, with silver and our government and where all this stuff is with the banking, we're at that level where if it goes much higher, they're all going to get huge to the point to where we're going to be insolvent. And for crypto, it was at the point where if it goes down any lower, a lot of these major institutions are going to get liquidated for calls as well. So we're at that make it or break it area.
52-week low. The low price of the year for strategy happened today. Strategy was down 47.5% on the year, and it's 67.5% below its peak 52-week high. Now, strategy is not
it looks like they
in the
put it in
S&P
request
500.
ID right here.
But if it was
Problem
in
type,
the S&P 500,
flashing, not
it would be
started. So
the
it's not
sixth
started yet, though, so
worst
they haven't done
performing
anything.
stock
Yeah, they put
in the entire
information
index.
right.
So there only would have been 5 other stocks that would have gone down more than strategy.
Okay, you get the point. I'm back. But you can look at it two different ways there. So, but we'll see how these markets play. You know, they're both on opposite ends. Obviously, we're having a bit of a consolidation in the miners now. Bit of a consolidation in silver. Not big consolidation. Silver's at 76.50 something right now, Julie. Gold's at 4,444. I don't know.
I still freaked out about it.
I know there's a lot of cars out there.
Unusual.
Very unusual. That's why I had to look over there and be like, what's going on out there?
Too many people. It's 2 people.
That it is.
It's extra people.
No, you're fine. No, they'd rather hear you than me. Let's see. Let's go look at the crypto fear and greed index while we still have a couple minutes here together. Crypto fear and greed index. How is that possible? See, retail is not buying this rally. Look at the crypto fear and greed index. Remember when it was going down and people were buying and the index was going up? Now the price is going up and the index is going down or staying the same. We're still in extreme fear despite this rally. We're in a fear, extreme fear yesterday, so we're basically extreme fear. This is great. At 2.5 cents, John. Only if it falls through this entire setup would be the only way you would see that, John. But yeah, it is definitely a possibility. Oh, XLM, sorry. I gotta make sure where XLM's at. Yeah, we haven't even got there yet. Haven't got there yet. But yeah, if it breaks over, I would expect the back test to be somewhere around the breakover point here at 25.1 area. Somewhere around here. Whoops. You know, if it were to break over. I don't know when it's going to do it, if it does it. But yeah, you would expect some kind of volatility. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Here you go. For sure for the next day or two, because right now XRP came up to that resistance area, so now it's up to the market to try to push past this resistance. So, and if we get past this resistance, it's going to open up the door to a much bigger push. This is basically the area. If XRP doesn't get rejected, we can make a big move, honestly. Back up to like the 265 area. If it gets rejected here and it keeps pushing down and we lose $2.12, well then we can come back down likely to that CME gap at some point here in the nearer future. So I don't really want to go all the way back down there. It's at $1.99.7. And that has ramifications of its own if it doesn't hold. So I would prefer not to fall and fade. I'd prefer to continue to push. We're going to have to watch this, you know, the gold and silver market too. That's going to tell us a lot, big time. Just keep watching all this. Northern oil and gas is starting to come back the right direction. I mean, who knows? That could be the opportunity there, and it never does what we're thinking it could. Because we're in unprecedented times, but it's definitely man, it's such a weird time right now. I couldn't explain it more if I tried. It's such a weird time. Bitcoin right now is trying to validate this movement. It's falling back inside of this gap zone. Or the FVG, I should say. But every time we've done this, we made a series of flags here. So we'll see if it can continue that narrative. I would say, if we're just looking at this for Bitcoin in the short term, just looking at it in the hourly or 2 hourly, just so you know what to expect in the immediate short term. You started with the resistance that you broke over. So you can either say, oh, well, in the short term, we're going to come out to a back test, right? We'll have to come back in here somewhere. Or you can start to say, well, we created something like this. Now we came out. So what makes more sense? And then you start to look at Bitcoin and you're like, well, you know, it came up from here. Or you can say it started breaking up from here. Or you can say, well, you know, if that started there and this started here, we got something like this going. So you basically don't want to fall below that. So, I mean, that's how I'd be looking at this right now. There's not much more to look at. Besides, you know, we've got this drawn out here. But that's just going to emphasize this area we just talked about. That's 92,000... It's like 92,800-ish. And then if you go to the other one, it's 92,700. So it gives you a range. So X marks the spot 90. Yeah, I mean, there's a range there. So that's a reversal candle possibly though right now in the hourly in Bitcoin. Very volatile candle up today. Made a new high, but we're pulling back a little bit right now. So, December was the best month for silver probably ever. This month, it isn't finished. No, certainly doesn't feel like it's finished. We'll just see we'll see how high they let it go. Embrace it. Just embrace what's happening. That's all I'm saying. Just embrace this. You know, we're not going to see this very often in our lifetime. And if we do, we're not going to see it very often when we're a part of it. There you go, Julie. But yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. I'm going to let you go. I appreciate all the conversation. I really, really do. It was a great live. I don't think we got any super chats or anything. One donation, one gifted sub. We did have one. Never mind. John sent a gift, a super chat. There was a $5 super chat. I remember John sent one. John Bugathorpe. And then we had a gifted sub from Bright Future, which is amazing. So thank you guys all so much for spending the time with